Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ, and it's good breaking news for fans of the U.S. men's national team. Christian Pulisic has been cleared to play in Saturday's round of 16 match against the Netherlands. Now, the United States star suffered a pelvic contusion while scoring the only goal of the U.S.'s 1-0 win against Iran on Tuesday. United States underdogs headed into Saturday's match against the Dutch, coming in at around plus 330 on the money line. As you take a look at players with a goal and an assist for the U.S. men's national team in a single World Cup, Pulisic, the latest to do it on that list, following what Jermaine Jones did back in 2014, which was, of course, their last World Cup appearance before this one. All right, to talk more about this, let's bring in soccer analyst James Benge joining us to talk about the Pulisic situation. James, how big of a boost is this for the U.S. men's national team as they head into this game?
Oh, this is gargantuan. This is one of the best players in that USMNT squad, certainly the best attacker. Now, Brendan Aronson was the man who came in when Pulisic suffered this injury, very much in the line of fire, scoring that goal that took the US past Iran. And Brendan Aronson is a really talented player. But Christian Pulisic is someone that, Chelsea paid £50 million for a reason. He is a high-level performer at a top European club, and he's really shown that at this World Cup, where he has been by far and away the US's best attacker, most shots at that goal and assist, crucial player. Of course, we don't know that he's cleared to start. And that, I think, is something that Greg Berhalter and every US fan will be worrying about over the next few hours. But certainly having Christian Pulisic in any context is so much better than not having him.
Yeah, that was the kind of where I wanted to go next, because of the fact it's a hip contusion. I mean, you and I have both run at some point in our lives. I've had a hip contusion. I don't know whether you have, but it's obviously very difficult to run with a hip contusion, certainly at full speed. So if he does appear in this game, if he does start, or if he comes off the bench, I mean, how much time do you think Berhalter gives him? Or do you think it's just going to be up to Pulisic to decide when he's good and when he's not?
To an extent, I mean, let's assume he doesn't start. And I mean, that is a complete guess on my behalf. But if he doesn't, then obviously you make this decision based on the game, because I think, and we'll come on to talk about this, it isn't unreasonable for Berhalter to plan around what might come in a quarter-final. So you don't want to gamble with Pulisic's fitness in this round of 16 tie, when this is a team that do have a real solid chance of getting to a quarter-final. That might be it, but you would want Pulisic available for that game as well. So with players like Aronson, it doesn't make any real sense to gamble any more than you need to throw him in from the off if he's better as an impact sub. I mean, by the way, when he plays for Chelsea, he often is really effective coming on late as an attacker, a bit of a poacher in the penalty area. If it's 1-1, if it's 0-0, if there's a chance for the USA to get into this game or get something from this game, then maybe Pulisic is at his most effective as an impact sub. We shall see.
How do you think it alters how Berhalter sets them up, or does it?
I don't think it does necessarily, because really, what we've seen here is a lot about how the midfield varies. That midfield three of Adams, McKennie, and Musa, all of whom have been outstanding, I think, in this tournament. That's really where the variety comes. My personal view is I think you'll see something quite similar to the system he used against England, where it's more of a 4 out of possession, and whether it's Aronson, Reina, or Pulisic, all of them can play that sort of left-sided role fairly effectively. So I think there are other things to consider. Of course, the absence of Josh Sargent, who looks a little bit more unlikely to be available, will complicate matters in terms of who starts up front. But I think that one of the joys of this US squad is the players are quite adaptable, even within the sort of parameters of a 4-3-3. So whoever plays, I don't think Berhalter needs to rip up the plan just to get one or the other in. I think he's got a very good, adaptable squad.
And as you mentioned, I mean, you don't want to get caught looking ahead, but I mean, if you do look ahead to the quarterfinals, you're likely going to be facing Argentina at that time. You want to make sure you've got everybody healthy and good to go. James, we're hearing about the Dutch team. This Dutch team apparently has a flu bug that's running through that team. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps unsurprisingly, Louis van Gaal is keeping his cards close to his chest. What we know is that it's not 15 players, which doesn't tell us much, but it's fewer than 15 players are suffering with some sort of illnesses. We know they cancelled their 11 versus 11 training session yesterday on Friday. From what we hear, this is to do with the air conditioning in the stadiums in Qatar. I mean, I'm sure we've all been on those long flights where you come out feeling a little bit groggy because of all the the recirculated air. And I think the footballers in Qatar are almost having the same troubles here. So Van Gaal expects, to have the full 26-man squad available. But everything he said around that was very caveated. So unsurprisingly, the Dutch are going to keep their cards close to their chest on this one. We will not find out until just before kickoff who has been laid too low by this. But it's cause for a little bit more hope if you're a USMNT fan that maybe you're not going to be facing a Dutch team at full strength. I do think that the US could beat a Dutch team at full strength anyway. But any absences will be greatly received by Berhalter and co.
Yeah, one of the things that was where I wanted to finish with you. I mean, plus 310 on the money line are the U.S. Dutch are the favorites, with or without Christian Pulisic. Do you think the U.S. have enough to get through this game?
I think they do. I think the Dutch have disappointed me quite a lot this tournament. The midfield, which is obviously the US's strength, is not, it's not doing a lot other than Frankie de Jong. The forwards aren't getting a lot of service, and the defence looks great on paper, but it looks a lot better on paper than it does in practice. And so, I'm writing up my picks right now for CBSSports.com. I've got to say, I have the US winning this, and I'm someone that didn't predict the US coming out of the group, let alone going right the way to the quarterfinals. So I don't want to get too many people too carried away and too excited, but I think the USMNT can do this.
Sold on the USMNT, James Benge. And wow, the Dutch disappointing? That's so unlike them to do. James, thanks for hopping on with us to discuss this breaking news. Great news for U.S. fans. Christian Pulisic is good to go. We don't know whether he's going to start or not, but he is good to play in that game versus Holland coming up on Saturday. For more on this and, of course, how the U.S. are faring at the World Cup, be sure you're tuning into In Soccer We Trust with Jimmy Conrad, Tony Davies, Keith Pierce. Download and follow wherever you get your podcasts. You can also scan the QR code right now.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.